Hi, I'm Jose Luis Romero, Director of Silva Ultramind Systems. The purpose of developing your intuition is to help make this a better world to live in. There is so much interest right now in developing intuition in many areas, and as time goes by, it's going to impact so many areas, including the business areas. Let me give you an example of how things have changed, and the interest is there right now. We had a call one day from an executive in a bank who wanted us to teach their loan officers to become more intuitive, more sensitive to the problems of the clients in order to be able to serve them better. Now, this is the ideal situation to help you develop your intuition to be able to service your clients better. This is a great impact that we will have to continue to make this a better world to live in. So what happened is this. We went ahead, presented a class to the loan officers, and they liked it so much, and they achieved such great success that they asked us to come back and teach another class to their loan processors. One of the things that I was so excited about when I first came to the bank, I noticed on the wall they had numerous graphs, and I asked, what are those charts for? And the executive said, we plot everything that we do in this office. Everything from the number of phone calls that we receive, the number of applications that are approved. Everything is plotted. And I said, boy, I would be very interested in finding out what happens to those graphs after your people take the course. Well, we taught the class, and 3 months after, I received a fax with 2 graphs. One of the graphs was the loan officer's activity, and the other graph was the loan processor's activity. On the graph, we could see that they had a projected amount, and prior to taking the course, all the actual activity was below the projected amount. Then there was an asterisk, and it pointed out to the month when they took the class. The 2 months after taking the course showed a tremendous increase. They actually went above the projected amount, and so did the loan officers. They increased their production by 101%. Isn't that wonderful? And yet, they were actually providing a better service to their clients. They provided better service to the clients, they improved their production, and what happened is this. By learning to function at this alpha level, they not only helped themselves in the work area, but that also transferred to their personal lives. And so they improved their personal activities as well as their business activities. Now, isn't that wonderful? We can all learn to develop these natural abilities to help us develop our intuition, where we can learn to make more right decisions to achieve a healthier, happier, and luckier life. You can accomplish the same thing by developing your ability to function at alpha to be able to make more right decisions in your life at whatever it is that you do. The last word that I received was that the home office is now tracking the activity of this branch, and maybe they will want us to come and teach other branches and also teach them the psychic ability so that they can also help their clients and improve their production as well.
The next step is to fully develop your intuitive abilities, your abilities to project your mind. We call ESP a little different than extrasensory perception. We refer to it as effective sensory projection. You can project your mind to any place on this planet, any planet within the solar system, any solar system, within a galaxy, and any galaxy within the universe, as you've been learning in the conditioning cycles. You can project your mind to detect information if you need that information to correct problems, to help you improve conditions here on planet Earth. Some people call that remote viewing. The United States government spent $20 million, some people estimate $30 million, training psychics to do remote viewing. They had spectacular results. In one test, the CIA psychics located 10 out of 10 submarines underwater. 100% success on it. So this is something that can be learned. This is something that anybody has the ability, the potential to do. Now, it's asking a lot to ask somebody who's never exhibited this type of ESP to suddenly start doing it. Here are some tips and techniques from Jose Silva that you can use to get started on your own in doing this. For instance, Everybody has hunches from time to time, and sometimes they turn out to be right. When that happens, when you have a hunch, when your intuition tells you something or you think your intuition is telling you something and you're right, at your earliest opportunity, go to your alpha level and review that experience. Especially review the feeling that you had when you had that hunch, Mr. Silva says, that mental or emotional feeling of being accurate and correct. Some people get intuitive insights in dreams. That often happens because while we're sleeping and dreaming, the brain does spend a certain amount of time at the alpha level. When this happens, and when you confirm that the information helped you, that the information turned out to be accurate, then again, go to your level and review the experience and reinforce it and program yourself that you will have more and more of these experiences. You can also use a trial and error method. For instance, if you're going to call somebody and it's a long-distance phone call, well, you don't want to waste your money if they're not there or waste your time. So you could enter your level, ask yourself the question, is the person available? If I go ahead and make the call now or not? You'll get a hunch. You'll get a feeling for it. Go ahead and make the call. I used to do that. When I was learning, I would do that. I would say, oh, that person's not there. So then I'd call up, I'd make the long-distance call, and sure enough, they'd say, nope, sorry, he's not here right now. And I'd say, oh, that's great. That's terrific. Because I was accurate with my intuition. So those times when you're accurate, reinforce that feeling. You will learn to tell the difference when your hunches are right and perhaps when they're not quite right. Now, one thing Mr. Silva cautions about, we don't do this just to play games, just for fun. That's not the point of it. He said we were not given this valuable tool, this tool that can just be absolutely beyond placing a value on. We were not given this tool by higher intelligence just to go out and play guessing games. We were given this tool so that it would help us to overcome problems and improve conditions on the planet. Now, one of the problems that you may have is developing your confidence in your ability to do this. That's fine, to use it to develop your confidence. Once you've got that confidence, once you know it works for you, then remember to use it for the purpose that we have it.
Hi, I'm Jonelle Monaco Lytle again, and I'm here to share with you some more of the story about what happened in the homeless class. On the third morning, as I went to get in my van, as I was approaching, I noticed broken glass all over the street. I noticed the window was totally shattered, and there was all this glass on the outside of the van on the street and glass on the inside in the seat. And as I opened the door, I saw this huge rock that evidently they had used to break my window. So I reached for the rock, and at that moment of reaching the rock, I heard in my head very loud and clear, "Upon this rock, I shall renew my faith." And I thought, well, that isn't a message for me because I have a lot of faith. And so, in the meantime, I called the woman I was staying with, Margot Johnson, and I told her that I had a police report to make, and if she could please call the church and let the students know that I would be there, but I had to make a police report first. So, after the report, I went to class, and I took the rock with me. Now, you're going to learn about this technique called psychometry, but I knew that the person who had thrown that rock, or the people who had handled it, their vibrations, their energy was left in that rock, and that through the Silva method, we could just go to level, use our right brains, mentally project into the rock, and maybe we could pick up information that would lead us to finding out who did this and possibly even maybe retrieving some of my belongings. When I finally got to class that morning, by this time it was 11 or 11:30 by the time the police took the report. And so we were running quite late, but I went ahead and I put two long tables together, two 6-foot tables, and I put the rock right in the very center, and then I had all the students sit around, and I said, we're going to start this course off today with just a little bit something different. We're going to skip ahead to something that we would do much later in the program. We're going to mentally project. Now, you've been taught all along that you can project your faculties of genius, that you can detect information, and that you can bring that information back to you and actually act on it. So we're going to exercise that ability because it's already been programmed in. So I gave them each a pen and a piece of paper, and I said, now we're going to go to level, and we're each going to mentally project into this rock. But I want you to write down anything that comes to your mind. Well, to make a long story short, at the end of the exercise, which took about 20 minutes, there were a number of us who came up with the outfit that the person was wearing, even the kind of shoes, the race, the fact that he was a male. And several of the people came up with a street. A couple more came up with another street. And one of the persons had actually written on a piece of paper where those two streets intersected. Several of the men just got up right then as soon as they heard the intersection. Now, mind you, this is a half an hour across town. It's around 12 or 13 degrees that day, ice on the ground. And they just said, "We'll be back with your things." And at that moment, I was so touched that they would just stop everything and go do this for me that I couldn't even speak. Well, as they were leaving, two more of the homeless came in who were late that morning, so we quickly explained to them what we had just done. And as soon as I mentioned the two streets, this one guy said, "I know exactly where that is." And so I reached in my purse. I said, "Here's a 20, take a cab." Now, as I handed him that 20, I had another form of intuition. This time it was visualization. I saw this big picture, and I saw those same two men coming down this long corridor, entering the room where we were with my great big Silva suitcase with my belongings in it. And I thought, ooh, wouldn't that be nice? So later on that afternoon when we were having our lunch, and there I was using my Silva advanced technique for energizing my food. I had my eyes closed, my head down, and all of a sudden I heard one of the ladies say, "Oh my gosh!" So I looked up to see what she was oh my goshing about, and there, just like in my vision, were the two men coming down the corridor with my Silva case. They found my belongings strewn all over the street in that area that showed up in our exercise earlier that morning. And some of my belongings they found in trash cans, some of them they found in dumpsters. They found the suitcase was too big, was out on the street, and many of the things were missing, but I did get a lot of my belongings back. Now, the exciting part of this was the fact that these men and women who had come in, who had started the class late, and who had only had a portion of Silva, were still able to use their faculties of genius, even though we hadn't gotten to that part of the program yet. But the fact that we had programmed in the words that you were able to project to anywhere on this planet to solve a problem was in their computers, and they were able to prove that to themselves that morning. So it was like I had asked God in the beginning that those men and women would be able to experience their faculties of genius. I had asked higher intelligence that they would see the final end results, even though it looked like once we were into the program, we weren't going to get to that part. So from this story, the point that I want you to understand is that human intelligence does leave energy in inanimate objects. We are capable of doing that whether or not we have an intention to do it. It just happens naturally. Now, we can also use that same ability that we have naturally, and we can intentionally put a program into inanimate objects. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, why would I want to do something like that? Well, one of the ways you can use this information is that if you have someone that you know that needs some help with willpower, let's say they want to quit smoking and they don't seem to have the willpower to do it, well, you can actually put a reminder in an object in their home that will give them the desire and the ability to have more willpower. Let me give you an example of this. A number of years ago, one of my friends had several brothers and sisters who had different problems. One of the brothers was an alcoholic, one of the brothers was a smoker, and the sister was about 30 pounds overweight. So because I knew the family very well and had known them for years, it was not unusual for me to be in their home. And so what I did for my friend that day was I used a technique that I'm getting ready to share with you, where I actually went to the bathroom of the first brother who had the alcoholic problem. And I intentionally put information into his toothbrush, the brush that he used every morning, the deodorant. I put all the objects together, and then I put my hands around them where my fingers did not touch, but just kind of cupped over them. And then I went to level, and I mentally visualized energy going into these objects. And at the same time of visualizing that energy, I was also saying things like, I have the willpower to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I do not have a craving for alcohol. And I just said all the positive things I could. And I also did the same thing over his bed, where he slept every night. So as his aura came into contact with these objects, and then once he actually touched them, he was actually picking up the information at another level. Then we went to the other brother's bathroom, and I did the same thing, only suggested that he desired to quit smoking. Now, I knew all along that he wanted to quit, but he didn't have the willpower. So once again, I went to level, cupped my hands over his personal items in the bathroom, and then over his portion of the bed, actually put in the information that I thought would help him have willpower to give up the smoking habit. And then we went to the sister's bedroom and vanity, and I picked up as many of the items that I knew that she would use daily, and I did the same thing again. Now, within just a few days, the signs back from these people were that things were already happening. Now, we didn't tell them what we had done, but the feedback I got from my friend was that within 3 days she started seeing results. Within the 6 weeks period, the one brother had quit smoking. The other brother got the desire enough that he went and got help from someone. Up to that point in his life, he was unable to ever go and seek help. So we believe that by him coming in contact with the programmed objects, it gave him the willpower to want to give up and to go seek help. And then during that 6 weeks period, the sister suddenly started losing weight. She lost 20 pounds in the 6 weeks. This is a technique that you can use to help your loved ones, to help people at a distance. This is a technique that you can use to help feed fuel to the willpower of the people who are struggling with unpleasant habits. Now, the exciting news is that we know that the mind guides the brain and the brain guides the body. So you can actually create tools to have your mind detect information. Now, you can do this with a dowsing rod or a pendulum. We'll start with the dowsing rods. You can take 2 hangers and bend one of them about 4 inches at the end so that you actually are creating a handle. Then you hold one in each hand, and they're going to be jetting out in front of you, parallel to the ground. And then you want to set the calibration. So you talk to yourself in your mind and you say, okay, now give me a yes. And you're going to notice that maybe they go toward each other or maybe they go away. But whatever your brain guides the dowsing rods to do is your calibration. Then you ask, give me a no. And then give me a maybe. And then you notice what feedback that you're getting from the dowsing rods. From there, you can actually detect information. Let's say you've lost your keys somewhere in the house. You could go into the room where you think they might be and stand in the center, and then just start asking the dowsing rods. You can divide the room into 4 different areas and look at the first half, and then maybe divide that into a half again, and then just keep asking until you actually locate the keys. A real quick example of how this worked for me a number of years ago when someone actually came to our home and stole something out of the car. I went out into the street and I stood in the middle of the street with the dowsing rods, and they kept indicating, even though I did a 360-degree turn several times, they always indicated this hotel down the street from my home. And later on that night, now, not only did it indicate physically, but it at the same moment gave me a verbal message, which was like an old-time movie that said that the thief always returns to the scene of a crime. So because of that message that I got and the pointing of the rods, we decided to kind of keep a watch that night. And sure enough, within an hour and a half, the criminal returned to the scene of the crime to pick up another part of the equipment that he missed on the first run, and we were able to capture this person. We found out later that night from the detective that we turned him into that he, yes, indeed, had been staying at the Econo Lodge down the street from my home. Now, to make your own pendulum, you can get something like a necklace or a shoestring. As long as you have something that you can hold on to one end and have it free-flowing on the other end and then tie something to it. A lot of people will use crystals, a piece of jewelry. It really doesn't seem to matter. You just need to be able to hold it on one end and have something hanging on the other end. And then once again, you want to ask questions. So once you have your either homemade or bought pendulum, then you can go to level 3 to 1, and then you can start calibrating your pendulum. So you want to ask, give me a yes, and notice the sign that you get back. Then you want to ask, give me a no, and then notice that sign, and then give me a maybe, and then ask, give me an I don't know. Now, when you need to find an answer to a problem and get that intuitive guidance, you want to hold your pendulum away from your body, go to level, and ask a question. You can open your eyes and notice what's happening with the indicators. Now, here for a few more examples of how to use these tools is Jose Luis Romero.
Thank you, Jonelle. A few years ago, Mr. Silva came into my office and asked me to come with him to our meeting room. We have a large meeting room. As soon as we walked in, he said, Pepe, here are 2,000 rods. There is some money in this room. I want you to find it. The only instructions I'm going to give you is that you want to divide the room in half, and then once you divide that half and you get an indication where the money is, divide that into half again and continue to do so until you locate the money. So I took the 1,000 rods, I divided the room in half, got an indication that the money was on the left side. I divided that in half, and pretty soon I located the money. The first thing Mr. Silva said at that time was, it took you 53 seconds. But he seemed impressed. So I was happy. The thing that I did not tell Mr. Silva until about 6 months later was that as soon as I walked into the room, I knew where the money was. I received an impression, and I was attracted to the location exactly where the money was. Once I started using the 1,000 rods, they only confirmed what I already knew. And for me, that was a great confidence to realize that my intuition was correct. Many times we need tools to help us convert information from the intuitive, subjective dimension into the objective dimension. And this is what such tools as 1,000 rods and pendulums can do for us. In your next session, we're going to impress information on psychometry, how you can use psychometry. Psychometry is a good way for you to develop your intuitive ability. To gain a better understanding of how psychometry works, let's look into how things around us work. Everything that exists vibrates. Everything that exists has a fundamental frequency. The frequency is determined by its composition of electrons in the atom and the atoms in the molecule. And the total sum of atoms in a specific type of matter is the fundamental frequency of that type. Now, everything is affected by light. When light comes into contact with an object, now we have the fundamental frequency of the object, and we have the fundamental frequency of light. When the two collide, then we end up with 4 frequencies: the fundamental frequency of the object and the fundamental frequency of light. We also have the sum of the two and the difference of the two. With our physical senses, we are able to detect what the difference of the two is reflected. What is reflected, that is what we sense with our physical senses. The sum of the two is absorbed, and what is absorbed, we are able to detect with our subjective senses, our intuitive senses. What is reflected is affected by other reflections, by other energies. What is absorbed is pure. So now, what do you think is the best information if you're able to sense with your physical senses or your subjective senses? The information that is absorbed is pure. The information that is absorbed is the information that you would like to use to help you in decision making. Now, we know that everything vibrates, and we sense information from vibrations of an object. Your vibrations penetrate objects within your presence and affect the internal vibrations of the objects. Your body radiation charges up the objects with your own frequencies. When you touch a ring, for instance, your vibrations penetrate the ring, and it becomes an extension of you. Any time later, when someone touches the ring and desires to obtain information, can obtain information from those vibrations in the ring. The vibrations in an object are used by our mind to help us tune in to the person. Whenever we desire to obtain information on that person, it will be helpful if we have an object from a person, and that will help our mind to sense the vibrations in that object, to be able to tune in to that person to obtain the information that we need. In the next exercise, you will learn how to use psychometry. You can use psychometry to help you practice to develop your intuitive ability. As you learn to function in the alpha level, you can have your friends or family members bring you objects from people they know and give you a description of maybe their color of hair, color of eyes, complexion, maybe height and weight. And hold the object on the palm of your left hand and determine what information you'd like to detect. Then enter your level and desire to detect that information. Usually the information that you perceive immediately is the correct one. Once you finish with an object, compare your answers with the information that was provided to you. This will help you to gain confidence and to establish points of reference that you are doing the right thing. On the average, a person when guessing will be right 1 out of 5 times. On the average, a good psychic will be right 4 out of 5 times. Once you determine that you're being right more than 1 out of 5, then you are on your way to developing better intuition. Now, in the next session, Jonelle will guide you through the exercise.
In this session, we will include the psychometry technique of Jose Silva's Ultramind ESP systems. I'm Jonelle Monaco Lytle, and I'll be your guide. In the background, you will hear the gentle tapping of the alpha sound. This sound will help your brain adjust to the alpha rhythm. This tape is to be used with eyes closed, so do not play it when you are driving or performing any other activity that requires the use of your eyesight. Remember that if at any time you feel uncomfortable, readjust your position to make yourself more comfortable. If you feel you must open your eyes for any reason, then open your eyes and make yourself comfortable. If you open your eyes, then rewind the tape and start again at the beginning. Anytime you desire to relax, mentally or verbally repeat the word relax, and you will relax physically and mentally. This mind training exercise is based on one originally copyrighted by Jose Silva of Laredo, Texas in 1969 after 25 years of research. New material on this tape is copyrighted in the year 2000 by Silva Ultramind Systems. Reproduction for redistribution is strictly prohibited. Now prepare for this mind training exercise by finding a comfortable position. We will begin this exercise with a 3-to-1 method. Find a comfortable position, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and while exhaling, mentally repeat and visualize the number 3 3 times. To help you learn to relax physically at level 3, I am going to direct your attention to different parts of your body. Relax your scalp. Relax your forehead. Relax your eyes. Relax your face. Relax your throat. Relax your shoulders. Relax your chest externally and internally. Relax your abdominal area, externally and internally. Relax your thighs. Relax your knees. Relax your calves. Relax your feet. You are now at a deeper, healthier level of mind, deeper than before. This is your physical relaxation level 3. Whenever you mentally repeat and visualize the number 3, your body will relax as completely as you are now, and more so every time you practice. To enter mental relaxation level 2, take a deep breath, and while exhaling, mentally repeat and visualize the number 2 3 times, and you are at level 2, a deeper level than 3. Level 2 is for mental relaxation, where noises will not distract you. Instead, noises will help you to relax mentally more and more. To improve mental relaxation at level 2, practice visualizing tranquil and passive scenes. To enter the basic plane level, take a deep breath, and while exhaling, mentally repeat and visualize the number 1 3 times. You are now at level 1, the basic plane level that you can use for a purpose, any purpose you desire. To help you enter a deeper, healthier level of mind, I am going to count from 10 to 1. On each descending number, you will feel yourself going deeper, and you will enter a deeper, healthier level of mind. 10, 9, feel going deeper. 8, 7, 6, deeper and deeper. 5, 4, 3, deeper and deeper. 2, 1. You are now at a deeper, healthier level of mind, deeper than before. It is a wonderful feeling to be deeply relaxed, a very healthy state of being. Effective sensory projection statements for success. I am now learning to attune my intelligence by developing my sensing faculties and to project them to any point or place on this planet so as to be aware of any actions taking place, if this is necessary and beneficial for humanity. I am now learning to attune my intelligence by developing my sensing faculties and to project them to any point or place on any planet within the solar system, any solar system within the galaxy, and any galaxy within the universe, so as to be aware of any actions taking place if this is necessary and beneficial for humanity. I am now learning to attune my intelligence by developing my sensing faculties and to project them to the different matter kingdoms, the inanimate matter kingdom, any of its levels and depths, the animate matter kingdom with reproductive intelligence, plant life and animal life, any of its levels and depths, and the animate matter kingdom with reproductive intelligence and an awareness of existence, the human body and mind kingdom, any of its levels and depths. I am now learning to detect abnormalities whenever such abnormalities exist within any kingdom, any level, and any depth, if this is necessary and beneficial for humanity. I am now learning to apply corrective measures and to bring back to normalcy any abnormality found within any kingdom, any level, and any depth, if this is necessary and beneficial for humanity. Negative thoughts and negative suggestions have no influence over me at any level of the mind. The following laws are to be considered when programming. Do to others only what you like others to do to you. The solution must be within the possibility area. The solution must help to make this planet a better place to live. The solution must be the best for everybody concerned. The solution must help at least 2 or more persons. The following principles apply to programming. Objective physical communication takes place at the beta, left brain dimension using the objective physical senses. The hearing is used for perception, and the voice is used for transmission. Subjective, spiritual communication takes place at the alpha, right brain dimension by using the spiritual senses. Visualization is used for perception, and imagination is used for transmission. In the objective, physical dimension, the past is behind us, the present is our present position, and the future is ahead of us. In the subjective, spiritual dimension, the past is to your right, the present is centered straight ahead, and the future is to your left. We will now impress information for your benefit. Psychometry, a technique that you can use to detect information. Select an object that has been in the possession of the person about whom you desire to detect information. You will hold this object in your left hand. Enter your level with a 3-to-1 method. Once at your level, determine what information you are seeking. For instance, is the information that you desire physical, mental, or emotional? Relax and start thinking about the person who previously had this object. You may ask any kind of question you desire about this person, then clear your mind for a moment of time and start thinking again to detect the answer. When you have a sincere desire to detect this information because you need it to improve conditions on the planet, your mind will automatically adjust to the specific level where you will be accurate and correct. Another way that you can detect information is through the use of objects such as dowsing rods and pendulums. To use a pendulum or dowsing rods to detect information, hold the pendulum or dowsing rods loosely in your hands so that they may move easily. Then relax, defocus your vision, and enter your level. Recall the feeling of being at your level. Then start thinking about the information that you desire. You can use a pendulum to ask questions. Movement in one direction could mean yes, while movement in another direction could mean no. You can use dowsing rods to help you locate things. Keep in mind what you desire to locate as you move around, and notice how the dowsing rods react. Their reaction will indicate where the object is that you desire to locate. Every time you enter this level with a sincere desire to help humanity, you will be helping yourself. Your talents will increase, and you will become more accurate every time. And this is so. You have practiced entering deep, healthy levels of mind. In your next session, you will enter a deeper, healthier level of mind faster and easier than this time. Every time you function at these levels of the mind, you will receive beneficial effects physically and mentally. You may use these levels of the mind to help yourself physically and mentally. You may use these levels of the mind to help your loved ones physically and mentally. You may use these levels of the mind to help any human being who needs help physically and mentally. You will never use these levels of the mind to harm any human being. If this be your intention, you will not be able to function within these levels of the mind. You will always use these levels of the mind in a constructive, creative manner for all that is good, honest, pure, clean, and positive, and this is so. You will continue to strive to take part in constructive and creative activities to make this a better world to live in, so that when we move on, we shall have left behind a better world for those who follow. You will consider the whole of humanity, depending on their ages as fathers or mothers, brothers or sisters, sons or daughters. You are a superior human being. You have greater understanding, compassion, and patience with others. In a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 5. At that moment, you will open your eyes, be wide awake, feeling fine and in perfect health, feeling better than before. You will have no ill effects whatsoever in your head, no headache, no ill effects whatsoever in your hearing, no buzzing in your ears, no ill effects whatsoever in your vision and eyesight. Vision, eyesight, and hearing improve every time you function at these levels of the mind. 1, 2, coming out slowly now. 3, At the count of 5, you will open your eyes, be wide awake, feeling fine and in perfect health, feeling better than before, feeling the way you feel when you have slept the right amount of revitalizing, refreshing, relaxing, healthy sleep. 4, 5, eyes open, wide awake, feeling fine and in perfect health, feeling better than before. And may the rest of your life be the best of your life. This concludes the psychometry technique for Jose Silva's Ultramind ESP systems.